Do you need to play part 1 to understand part 2? No, you don't. Hoyoverse mentioned that part 2 was designed as an entry point for new players to the game. And while yes, playing part 1 will enhance your overall experience, Editor Homu here. Okay, so I recorded this video a little before part 2 came out. Now that I actually got to play it, all I can say is that as a new player you will get confused regarding some of the terminology from part 1 that they use in part 2 and don't really explain. So, while I do think that part 2 can be a decent entry point if you really don't want to play part 1, note that you will be confused. But hey, this is why this video exists, to make you less confused. Back to past Homu. Do note though that you need to be Captain level 30 to start part 2, so you will begin in part 1 as a new player. Level 30 is easily obtainable, so don't worry too much about that. However, I do recommend playing through Kiana's story at some point, because it's a great story that is worth experiencing, and you will probably meet some old characters later in part 2. Oh, and mostly because part 2 doesn't offer too much content yet, so you'll need something to do while you're waiting for updates, right? This video is dedicated to both all the new players. However, it will contain spoilers for part 1. Unfortunately, I can't really explain what's happening on Mars and give you context as to why we are there without spoiling some stuff from part 1. So, if you plan on playing part 1 and don't want to get spoiled, I recommend watching this video only after you're caught up. Although, if you play part 2 first, the game might slightly spoil you on some stuff. But hey, if you don't mind spoilers, then please go ahead. I will try to do my best to only mention things that I feel that are necessary. So buckle up, the spaceship to Mars is about to set sail. Wait, what do you mean it already sailed? Hey, wait up, please don't go without me! There are two important cosmological structures that you need to be aware of. First, the imaginary tree. If you played Honkai Star Rail, you might be familiar with this concept, since it's the same for both games. The imaginary tree is a visualization scheme for the stable worlds in the Honkai universe. I will expand on the reason why we are calling them stable in a bit. The word world in the context of the Honkai series is used to describe many different structures, but the most general use of the word in Honkai Impact 3rd is when referring to the solar system. The world of Honkai Impact 3rd houses at least 2 planets with civilizations on them, Earth and Chiming, but you don't really need to know about Chiming. Other planets like Venus and Mars used to have advanced civilizations at some point.
Mars? Wait, but isn't part 2 supposed to take place on Mars?
Yesn't. We'll get there in a moment. The worlds in the Honkai universe are separated by a barrier of imaginary energy, which we also learn in Star Rail. The barrier makes interstellar travel between worlds impossible. In HSR, to go to another world, you need the power of the Eons or to use the Star Rail. But in Honkai Impact 3rd, there are other methods. One of these methods are the Stargates, special wormholes that can connect 2 different places in space. Honkai Impact 3rd also has a being similar to Eons that can travel between worlds, but most entities and factions in this game cannot leave the solar system. The other major cosmological structure is the Sea of Quanta, which houses the so-called Bubble World. The Sea of Quanta is a chaotic structure that exists together with the imaginary tree. The flow of time inside the sea is very unstable, and usually you won't have as good of a time as you would have in a stable world on the imaginary tree. The tree and the sea exist in some sort of symbiotic relationship, and while they are separate structures, they are constantly exchanging data and information, almost like feeding each other. You can think of them as order and chaos. While we know that they coexist, the tree and the sea function very differently. Unlike the stable worlds from the imaginary tree, the worlds in the Sea of Quanta are like soap bubbles that can pop at any moment, hence why the name Bubble Worlds. Due to the chaotic nature of the sea, the bubble worlds are extremely unstable, and unless anchored to a special structure called the Nether Anchor, they won't survive for long and disintegrate into data. Also, while the stable worlds on the tree follow the same universal laws, the bubble worlds can have unique laws/rules. For example, in one of the bubble worlds that we visited in the past, wishes made by the people of that bubble world would manifest in reality out of nothing. There are many kind of bubble worlds, but I want to keep this video simple, so I won't go into details. All you need to understand from this section is that imaginary tree, stable worlds separated by imaginary energy, they have fixed laws. Sea of Quanta, unstable worlds called bubble worlds, they need an ether anchor to continue existing, and they can have strange laws, aka anything can happen in them. And yes, for all intentions and purposes, the Anchor of Apocalypse that we see everywhere in part 2 seems to be some kind of special ether anchor. Remember when I mentioned entities akin to eons that can travel between worlds? Well, the Cocoon of Finality is one of them. The Cocoon of Finality is a higher dimensional being and the main perpetrator behind the Honkai phenomena in Honkai Impact 3. The Cocoon is theorized to be a merge existence formed after a civilization merged with its own planet. The sole purpose of the Cocoon is to achieve coexistence with humans through a process known as embrace. It manipulates Honkai energy and creates Hershers, powerful beings that can bend physical laws. Since the Cocoon is a higher dimensional existence, it cannot understand humans, so these embraces end up destroying the civilizations it tries to coexist with. The Cocoon also operates on a trial and error basis, resetting the civilizations destroyed by the Hersher of Finality and trying to embrace them all over again. The Earth was trapped in a constant cycle of destruction and rebirth by the Cocoon, but this change in the previous cycle, also referred to as the previous era, when Elysia, a Hersher born as an anomaly free from the Cocoon's control, cut the threads of destiny which forced Hershers to be under the Cocoon's control. This allowed the Hershers of the new cycle to retain their humanity. In the current cycle, Kiana Kaslana became the new Hersher of Finality, and the Cocoon achieved embrace for the first time through her. Kiana then merged with the Cocoon, becoming the new goddess of Earth. After that, she started siphoning all the Honkai energy to the moon, where she would remain until the Earth had enough time to heal, all while trying to find a way to convert Honkai energy into regular energy. This process is set to take between 5 to 10 years, but as of the story of APHO, which happens 8 years in the future, she's still supposedly there. Oh, and if you wonder where part 2 fits into the timeline, part 2 happens 6 years after the end of part 1 and 2 years before the beginning of APHO. Luoxing is what the people of Mars call their planet. Long ago, Mars was a prosperous planet with a thriving civilization and various ecosystems, unlike the desolated red desert that it is now. Around 1 billion years ago, the Cocoon of Finality visited Mars. We don't really know what happened, but it's safe to assume that the Cocoon of Finality failed to achieve embrace and left at some point. The civilization on Mars was destroyed, existing only as an echo of its former self inside the bubble worlds of the Sea of Quanta. The bubble worlds around Mars are the only place where the Martian civilization exists today, and that is where the story in part 2 will take place. Yes, we're not really on Mars, but we'll visit the bubble worlds around Mars. We don't know the exact story of how the people of Luoxing got to live inside the sea, but we do know that the relocation happened a little over 100 years ago for them, during Mars's Great Eruption, which is not to be confused with the Great Eruption that happened on Earth. Mars had its own Great Eruption, it's a separate thing. Some sort of dark energy exposed Luoxing to the Sea of Data. A group of heroes called the Seven Shoes sacrificed something important to move the civilization of Mars inside bubble worlds and allow them to continue existing inside the Sea of Data. The Seven Shoes will be a central figure in the upcoming story. They did a lot more than just relocating the civilization, but I'll let you discover their secrets by playing the game yourself. We also know about the existence of an entity who interacted with the Cocoon of Finality and who calls herself the Cocoon of Unwoven. Editor Homu here to make a clarification regarding the word cocoon. I saw many people thinking that because Senadina introduced herself as a cocoon, she must be similar to the Cocoon of Finality, as in the same kind of existence or something. But she's not. The cocoons are not really a species of something. The word is used literally. The Cocoon of Finality is just that, a shell from which finality emerges. The true finality is the power inside. Senadina used that title in rapport with Kiana's existence to signal that she is a shell for some kind of unrealized power, hence why unwoven. She, just like the Cocoon of Finality, are cocoons in concept. They are not the same type of existence. I hope this clarified. In fact, she might be closer to Kiana herself and be some kind of unrealized Herrscher of Finality equivalent for Mars, or something. But yeah, we have no idea what she is. Back to past Homu. After a peculiar accident caused by her meeting with the Dream Seeker inside a dream, the Cocoon of Unwoven made contact with Kiana through a dream and asked her for help to save Luoxing. We also learned from her that time in the bubble worlds of Mars was paused until Kiana achieved embrace with the Cocoon of Finality on Earth. So, while in the proper world it has been a billion years since the destruction of Mars, for the people of Mars in the bubble worlds, time was frozen and only a little more than 100 years has passed. The Cocoon of Unwoven also revealed that the bubble worlds of Mars are protected by 12 constellations, which coincide with the different types of astral rings. So yeah, that's interesting. Before the Cocoon of Unwoven made contact with Kiana, Earth already sent two people to explore Mars, Healia and Coralie 6626 Planck. Healia is an A-rank Valkyrie of Schicksal. She is a serious and dedicated person who admires Durandal, one of the characters from Part 1, greatly. For those of you who are new, the Valkyries are a combat unit under Schicksal, a military organization that led the fight against the Honkai on Earth. While Healia may seem stern and serious on the outside, don't let that deceive you, because she's a real softie on the inside. Coralie is the adopted daughter of Dr. Einstein, one of the preeminent scientists featured in Part 1. While Coralie doesn't handle people very well, she is a very attentive person and she has a great knack for dark humor. Once you will get to know her, there is no way that you will not like her. Just like once you watch one of my videos, there is no way that you won't subscribe to the channel. Seriously though, I know that Part 2 can be confusing for many. I am working on videos trying to explain everything, so if you want to support me in this endeavor, please subscribe, share and leave a like on this video. Thanks. When Healia and Coralie first arrived on Mars, they found some ancient ruins that contained a path to the Sea of Quanta, and after an accident, both of them ended up lost inside the Sea of Data, which is a version of the Sea of Quanta adapted to Mars. Inside this quantum space belonging to the Sea of Data, Healia and Coralie met Senadina and the Dream Seeker for the first time. As I said, the story of Part 2 takes place in the bubble worlds of Mars. Since the real Mars is now a desolated wasteland, these bubble worlds are the only places that can house the remnants of the Martian civilization. You will play as the Dream Seeker, a student at the Data Research Institute in Osha, a modern and thriving city full of places to visit. Oh, and before I forget, the bubble worlds are usually much smaller in scale than stable worlds. Some bubble worlds are only the size of a city, for example, while others can be as big as an actual planet. In the beginning, the game will default you to the female Dream Seeker, but after finishing the first act of Chapter 1 in Part 2, you can change between male and female in the mirror inside your apartment. One day, the Dream Seeker meets the Cocoon of Unwoven inside the dream, who introduces herself as Senadina. Senadina entrusts the Dream Seeker with the astral rings and forms a contract with them to embark on a journey to save Mars. After waking up from the Dream Seeker finds themselves inside the Sea of Data, surrounded by many unfamiliar faces. Two of them are Healia and Coralie, and the other person is Senadina? But she's not the same Senadina of the Dreamseeker met in the dream, but a different person who looks the same and has the same name. The Senadina we met in the Sea of Data seems connected to the Cocoon of Unwoven, but she lacks any memories about who she is. The story will then bring you to Langche, another bubble world of Mars, which, unlike Osha, has a more historical and gloomy aesthetic and houses a dark secret. And when I say dark, I mean literal. You'll see when you play the game. There we meet Songche, a scammer, a fortune teller who introduces us to Langche and its people. Langche is facing a great disaster that threatens even the safety of Osha, so together with Healia, Coralie, Senadina and Songche, the Dreamseeker needs to find a way to stop this calamity from happening. Vita is a character introduced in part 1.5 and the developers confirmed that she will play a major role in linking the stories of part 1.5 and part 2. So, if you haven't played part 1.5, let me give you a quick breakdown. About 250 million years ago, the Cocoon of Finality visited Venus. The people of Venus fought the Cocoon, but were ultimately wiped out from existence, trying to use the power of the Sea of Quanta against it. The sole survivor of Venus, Sa, was blessed by a mysterious power from the sea and started mimicking the Cocoon of Finality's behavior. Sa wanted to absorb enough energy to rebuild the Venusian civilization and replace the Cocoon of Finality as the one controlling the Honkai energy in this world. To accomplish this task, Sa created multiple proxies to help them farm energy from the bubble worlds in the Sea of Quanta. One of those proxies was Vita, who looked exactly like Sa when they were human. Long story short, Sa was the main antagonist of part 1.5. Vita ended up turning against Sa, and after Kiana blasted Sa across the solar system, Vita stole Sa's eyes and a big portion of their power. Now, Vita is free from Sa's control, and due to the power she stole, she is now an omniscient being. This is the very short version. If you have time, I do really recommend playing through part 1 and part 1.5 yourself. Another old friend who will appear in part 2 is I Lambda, who is a very complicated existence to explain. Basically, she was born towards the end of part 1 due to some time and space shenanigans. Her gist is that she can dream about the future, and don't be surprised if she ever starts talking to you. And no, I do not mean the Dreamseeker, I mean you, the player. Yeah, she can break the fourth wall and she's aware of our existence. Usually she refers to us as time, so when you see her mentioning that word, she's talking about us. And that's it. I know this is a lot of lore to take in as a new player, but I tried my best to explain how all the stories tie together and give you a general idea of what you need to know if you start directly in part 2. If you are a veteran who played through the story, I hope I helped you put things into perspective. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and I or other knowledgeable members of the community will answer you. So, take care and see you on Mars! Now, where the heck did the spaceship go? Not again.